7 little words that can make or break your golden years. How to stay connected and respected. Have you ever noticed how some older adults seem to radiate warmth and connection, while others, despite their best intentions, seem to drift into a sea of quiet isolation? The truth is, the words we use, especially as we age, have a surprising power to shape our relationships. They can build bridges or create walls, foster intimacy, or breed resentment. This video isn't about judgment, it's about empowerment. It's about recognizing how seemingly innocent phrases can subtly impact the people around us, and more importantly, how to replace them with words that nurture understanding, respect, and genuine connection. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore 7 common phrases that can unintentionally create distance in your relationships, and we'll offer simple yet powerful alternatives that can transform your interactions and deepen your bonds. So stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you might discover not just how to stay connected, but how to thrive in your golden years, surrounded by love and genuine companionship. Let's get started. Number 1, I'm too tired for that. It's understandable. As we age, our energy levels naturally shift. We might experience more aches and pains, find it harder to bounce back after exertion, or simply feel the need for more rest. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging these changes and honoring our body's needs. But when I'm too tired becomes a constant refrain, a default response to invitations and opportunities, it can send a signal that you're withdrawing from life, from connection, from the very fabric of relationships that sustain us. Imagine Sarah, a vibrant 75-year-old who loved to garden. Her flower beds were a riot of color, a testament to her green thumb and her enduring passion for nature. When her grandkids, bright-eyed and eager, wanted to help plant flowers, she'd often say, "I'm too tired for that, sweeties." She pictured herself sinking into her favorite armchair, a cup of tea warming her hands, the quiet hum of the afternoon lulling her into a peaceful state. Over time, the grandkids stopped asking. They assumed she didn't want to spend time with them, that her love for gardening superseded her love for them. Their little faces, once alight with anticipation, now reflected a quiet acceptance of her perceived disinterest. The truth was, Sarah cherished those moments. The image of her grandchildren, their small hands digging in the earth alongside hers, filled her heart with a joy that no quiet afternoon could ever match. But her words, those seemingly innocuous words, created a barrier, a wall between her and the very connection she craved. Instead of, "I'm too tired," try, "I could use a little help with that, actually. Would you mind lending a hand?" This simple shift, this subtle rephrasing, invites connection. It transforms a potential burden into shared joy, a solitary activity into a cherished memory. It keeps those precious bonds strong, nurturing the intergenerational relationships that enrich our lives in countless ways. It acknowledges the reality of shifting energy levels while simultaneously expressing a desire for connection, for shared experience. It opens the door for collaboration, for laughter, for the simple joy of being together, creating memories that will bloom brighter than any flower in Sarah's garden. Number 2, things were better in my day. Nostalgia is a powerful emotion. It's a warm blanket on a chilly evening, a familiar scent that evokes cherished memories, a comforting melody from a time long past. It's the gentle tug of the heartstrings, reminding us of where we've been, the journeys we've taken, and the experiences that have shaped us into who we are today. There's a profound beauty in revisiting those moments and cherishing the laughter, the love, and the lessons learned. But nostalgia, like a delicate flower, can be easily bruised when it transforms from a quiet reflection into a constant comparison, a measuring stick against which we judge the present. It loses its charm and becomes a barrier to connection. Think of Michael, a retired teacher whose son was navigating the choppy waters of a new career. Every time his son ventured to share his struggles, his frustrations, and the uncertainties that plagued him, Michael would respond with a sigh and the familiar refrain, "Things were better in my day. We just worked hard and didn't complain." He remembered a time when, in his view, dedication and perseverance were paramount, when challenges were met head-on without complaint. He envisioned a world where hard work was its own reward, a world that seemed simpler, clearer, and perhaps a little more just. But what Michael failed to realize was that his words, though intended to offer guidance and perhaps a touch of encouragement, landed like a heavy weight on his son's shoulders. Instead of feeling supported, his son felt judged, misunderstood, his struggles minimized and dismissed. He felt as though his experiences were invalidated, his efforts insignificant in the face of his father's seemingly idyllic past. The chasm between them widened with each "back in my day," a chasm filled with unspoken resentments and missed opportunities for connection. The son, yearning for empathy and understanding, gradually stopped sharing his struggles, retreating into a silence that pained them both. What Michael could have offered instead, a bridge across that chasm, was a simple shift in perspective, a subtle rephrasing that would have transformed the conversation from a lecture into a shared experience. Instead of, "Things were better in my day," he could have said, "I remember facing similar challenges. Would you like to hear how I navigated them?" This simple change, this invitation to connect, would have opened a door to understanding, to empathy, and to the potential for a deeper, more meaningful relationship. It would have acknowledged his son's struggles while offering the wisdom of experience, not as a judgment, but as a shared journey. It would have fostered a connection built on mutual respect, where the past serves not as a weapon of comparison, but as a source of strength and shared understanding. Number 3. You kids just don't get it. This phrase creates an instant divide, a chasm between generations. It implies that the younger generation lacks the wisdom, experience, and understanding to grasp the complexities of a situation, effectively shutting down any potential for meaningful conversation. It's a dismissive statement that can deeply wound those on the receiving end, making them feel invalidated and unheard. Imagine Maria, a grandmother whose granddaughter, Lily, was experimenting with a new, vibrant hairstyle, a cascade of electric blue streaks woven through her normally brown hair. Maria, accustomed to more traditional styles, reacted with a sigh and the dismissive phrase, "You kids just don't get it. That looks ridiculous." Lily, who had spent hours carefully crafting the look, a visual representation of her burgeoning self-expression, felt a wave of hurt wash over her. Her excitement, the joy of showcasing her new style to her beloved grandmother, evaporated, replaced by a sting of rejection. She retreated into silence, the vibrant blue streaks now seeming less like a bold statement and more like a badge of shame. The chasm between them, once bridged by shared laughter and whispered secrets, widened, filled with the unspoken hurt of Maria's dismissive words. What Maria could have offered instead, a bridge across that generational divide, was a simple shift in perspective, a subtle rephrasing that would have transformed the interaction from a judgment to a genuine connection. Instead of shutting down the conversation with a dismissive remark, she could have embraced curiosity, opening a door to understanding and shared experience. Imagine Maria, seeing the vibrant blue in Lily's hair, taking a moment to pause, to truly see her granddaughter's excitement, and responding with a gentle, "That's quite a change. Tell me what you like about it." This simple question, this invitation to dialogue, would have transformed the moment. It would have shown respect for Lily's individuality, acknowledging her right to self-expression without judgment. It would have opened a pathway to understanding, allowing Maria to glimpse the world through her granddaughter's eyes, to appreciate the motivations and inspirations behind her bold choice. Perhaps Lily would have shared her excitement about the vibrant color, the way it made her feel empowered and confident. Perhaps she would have explained the artistic inspiration behind the streaks, the way they reflected her personality and her evolving sense of self. The possibilities for connection, for shared understanding, are endless when we choose to open the door to dialogue rather than slamming it shut with dismissive pronouncements. By replacing "you kids just don't get it" with a genuine question, a sincere expression of interest, Maria could have fostered a deeper bond with her granddaughter, nurturing the intergenerational connection that enriches both their lives. It would have been a moment of shared joy, a celebration of individuality, and a testament to the power of open communication. Number 4. That's not how we used to do it. This seemingly innocuous phrase, often uttered with a sigh and a shake of the head, carries a weight far heavier than its simple words suggest. It's a statement steeped in tradition, in the comfort of familiar routines and the perceived superiority of the past. While honoring tradition is important, clinging too tightly to old ways can inadvertently stifle growth, innovation, and, most importantly, connection. It creates a barrier between generations, a wall of we versus they that can erode the very foundations of family and community. Imagine David, a retired chef whose love for cooking had spanned decades. His kitchen, once a bustling hub of activity, now stood as a testament to his culinary expertise, a space filled with the aroma of memories and the echoes of family gatherings. When his daughter-in-law, eager to contribute to the family's culinary heritage, ventured into the kitchen with a new recipe, a modern twist on a classic dish, David's well-intentioned but ultimately damaging words echoed through the room. "That's not how we used to do it." He envisioned his grandmother, her hands weathered by years of kneading dough, her eyes twinkling with the wisdom of generations, showing him the proper way to prepare the family's cherished recipes. He remembered the precise measurements, the specific techniques passed down through the years, each step imbued with a sense of history and tradition. In his mind, deviating from these established methods felt like a betrayal of his culinary heritage, a disregard for the time-honored traditions that had bound his family together for generations. But what David failed to realize was that his words, though intended to offer guidance, landed like a heavy weight on his daughter-in-law's shoulders. She felt judged, unwelcome in the kitchen, her creativity stifled by the weight of tradition. Her enthusiasm, the joy of experimenting with new flavors and techniques, evaporated, replaced by a sense of inadequacy and a growing resentment. The kitchen, once a symbol of shared meals and family bonding, now felt like a battleground, a space where tradition clashed with innovation, and where her efforts to connect were met with resistance. What David could have offered instead, a bridge across that generational divide, was a simple shift in perspective, a subtle rephrasing that would have transformed the interaction from a critique into a shared experience. Instead of clinging to the past, he could have embraced the present, opening a door to collaboration and mutual respect. Imagine David observing his daughter-in-law's innovative technique, responding with a genuine curiosity, a willingness to learn and grow alongside her. That's an interesting technique. I'd love to see how it turns out. This simple change, this invitation to connect, would have transformed the atmosphere in the kitchen. It would have fostered an environment of mutual respect, where tradition and innovation could coexist, enriching the family's culinary heritage rather than dividing it. It would have acknowledged his daughter-in-law's creativity, while honoring the wisdom of the past, creating a space for shared learning and growth. The kitchen, once a source of tension, would have become a space of connection, a place where family bonds were strengthened through the shared joy of creating something new, together. The aroma of memories would have mingled with the exciting scent of innovation, creating a richer, more vibrant tapestry of family tradition. Number 5. I'm too old to change. This phrase, "I'm too old to change," is a self-fulfilling prophecy, a surrender to perceived limitations that closes off possibilities for growth, learning, and connection. It's a declaration of stagnation, a resignation to the idea that the time for exploration, for embracing new experiences, has passed. It's a whisper of defeat that can echo through the corridors of our lives, dimming the light of curiosity and silencing the inner voice that urges us to learn and grow. Think of Elizabeth, a vibrant woman in her late 70s, who steadfastly resisted learning to use a computer. "I'm too old to change," she'd say, her voice laced with a mixture of apprehension and resignation. The world around her was rapidly evolving, transforming into a digital landscape where information flowed freely and connections spanned continents. Her children and grandchildren tried to initiate her into this new world, offering patient guidance and encouragement. They envisioned a world where she could connect with loved ones across the miles, access a wealth of information at her fingertips, and explore new interests and passions. But Elizabeth, clinging to the familiar comfort of her analog world, remained resistant. She pictured herself fumbling with a mouse, struggling to decipher the complexities of software, and feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information available online. The prospect of change felt daunting, a steep climb up a mountain she believed she was too old to scale. As a result, Elizabeth gradually isolated herself from a world of connection and information. She missed out on sharing photos and stories with her grandchildren, on video calls that would have brought her face-to-face with loved ones living far away, and on the wealth of knowledge and entertainment available online. She felt a growing sense of disconnect, a widening gap between herself and the world around her. Her children and grandchildren, sensing her resistance, gradually stopped offering their assistance, their initial enthusiasm dampened by her repeated refusals. The opportunities for connection, for shared experiences, dwindled, leaving a void in their relationships. A simple shift in perspective, a subtle rephrasing of her self-limiting declaration, could have transformed Elizabeth's experience. Instead of, "I'm too old to change," imagine her saying, "I'm not sure about this, but I'm willing to give it a try." This simple change, this openness to new experiences, would have opened a door to a world of possibilities. It would have signaled a willingness to learn, a desire to connect, and a refusal to let age define her limitations. It would have invited her children and grandchildren to re-engage, to offer their support and guidance without fear of rejection. Imagine Elizabeth with her family gathered around her, her fingers tentatively hovering over the keyboard, a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. With each small step, each new skill learned, her confidence would have grown, replacing apprehension with a sense of accomplishment. The computer, once a symbol of her perceived limitations, would have become a gateway to connection, a tool for learning, and a source of joy. The gap between her and her loved ones would have narrowed, replaced by shared experiences, laughter, and the strengthening of the bonds that tie families together. Number 6. Nobody cares what I think anymore. This phrase, "nobody cares what I think anymore," is a poignant expression of a profound human need. The need to be heard, to be valued, to feel that our thoughts and experiences matter. It's a quiet cry for connection, a subtle plea for recognition in a world that can often feel overwhelming and indifferent. It speaks to a fear of invisibility, a sense of being overlooked and undervalued, especially as we navigate the later chapters of our lives. This feeling can be particularly acute for older adults who may be transitioning into new roles, adjusting to changing family dynamics, or grappling with the loss of loved ones and familiar routines. The world around them may seem to be moving at an ever faster pace, leaving them feeling disconnected and adrift. Imagine John, a retired engineer whose sharp mind and analytical skills had been instrumental in designing complex structures throughout his career. He was accustomed to being sought out for his expertise, his opinions valued and respected. Now, in retirement, he found himself surrounded by family gatherings where the conversations revolved around topics he felt disconnected from: social media trends, the latest technology, or the challenges of raising young children in a rapidly changing world. He tried to contribute, to offer his perspective, but his words often seemed to fall on deaf ears, lost in the bustling energy of the gathering. A quiet sense of discouragement began to creep in, eroding his confidence and his desire to engage. He started to withdraw, retreating into silence, his thoughts and opinions unspoken. "Nobody cares what I think anymore," he'd mutter under his breath, his voice laced with a mixture of resignation and sadness. He pictured himself as a faded photograph, a relic of a bygone era, his relevance slowly diminishing in the vibrant tapestry of his family's life. His family, however, felt his withdrawal keenly. They missed his insightful comments, his dry wit, and the wisdom he had accumulated over the years. They sensed his sadness, his growing sense of isolation, but they felt helpless, unsure how to bridge the gap that seemed to be widening between them. They yearned to hear his voice, to understand his perspective, but his self-imposed silence created a barrier, a wall of unspoken words and missed opportunities for connection. What John could have offered instead, a bridge across that chasm of silence, was a simple shift in perspective, a subtle rephrasing of his self-defeating declaration. Instead of retreating into invisibility, he could have expressed his need to be heard, inviting connection and understanding. Imagine John, taking a deep breath, gathering his courage and saying, "I sometimes feel unheard, but I'd love to share my perspective on this." This simple change, this honest expression of his feelings, would have transformed the dynamic of the family gathering. It would have signaled his desire to connect, his need to be valued, and his willingness to engage in meaningful conversation. It would have invited his family to listen, to truly hear his voice, and to appreciate the wisdom he had to offer. It would have created a space for mutual respect, where different perspectives could be shared and appreciated, enriching the family's tapestry with the threads of experience and wisdom. The silence would have been broken, replaced by the warm hum of conversation, the sharing of stories, and the strengthening of the bonds that tie families together. John would have felt seen, heard, and valued, his presence a vital and cherished part of the family's vibrant and ever-evolving story. Number 7, leave me alone. These 3 words, often uttered in a moment of frustration, overwhelm, or grief, can carry a weight far heavier than their simple construction suggests. They are a wall, hastily erected in a moment of vulnerability designed to keep others out, to protect the fragile interior from further intrusion. While the desire for solitude, for a space to process emotions and regain equilibrium, is entirely valid, the way we communicate that need can significantly impact our relationships. The phrase "leave me alone" can be interpreted as a harsh rejection, a dismissal of the very people who may be trying to offer support and connection. It can create a chasm between individuals, leaving those on the receiving end feeling hurt, confused, and unsure how to navigate the sudden shift in dynamic. Imagine Helen, a recent widow navigating the raw and unfamiliar landscape of grief. The loss of her husband, her life partner, has left an aching void in her world, a silence that echoes through the once vibrant corridors of their shared life. Her children, witnessing her pain, reach out with tentative hands, offering words of comfort, gestures of support, and the simple presence of their love. But Helen, overwhelmed by the tidal wave of grief, retreats into herself, her emotional fortress guarded by the sharp edges of "leave me alone." She pictures herself adrift in a sea of sorrow, the waves of grief crashing over her, threatening to pull her under. She craves solitude, a space to grapple with the immensity of her loss, to process the complex emotions that surge through her. But her words, though born of pain, push her children away, creating a distance that amplifies her sense of isolation. Her children, on the receiving end of this abrupt dismissal, feel a sting of rejection. They long to comfort their mother, to offer a shoulder to cry on, a hand to hold, a silent presence to remind her that she is not alone in her grief. But her words, like a slammed door, shut them out, leaving them feeling helpless and unsure how to navigate the turbulent waters of her sorrow. They retreat, their hearts heavy with unanswered questions and unspoken concerns. The very connection they seek to offer, the support they long to provide, is inadvertently rebuffed by the wall Helen has erected around herself. The chasm between them widens, filled with the unspoken words of love and concern, and the silent ache of missed opportunities for connection. A simple shift in phrasing, a subtle softening of the sharp edges of "leave me alone," could have transformed this painful interaction into a moment of shared understanding and support. Instead of pushing her children away, Helen could have acknowledged their concern, while simultaneously expressing her need for solitude. Imagine Helen taking a deep breath, her voice trembling with emotion, saying, "I need a little time to myself right now, but I appreciate you checking in. It means the world to me that you're here." This simple rephrasing, this acknowledgement of her children's love and support, would have bridged the chasm of grief, creating a space for connection even in the midst of profound sorrow. It would have reassured her children that their presence was valued, their concern acknowledged, even if their physical proximity was not needed at that precise moment. It would have opened a door for continued support, a pathway for them to navigate her grief alongside her, offering comfort and connection without intruding on her need for solitude. The phrase, "I need a little time to myself right now," acknowledges the validity of the need for solitude without resorting to harsh rejection. The addition of "but I appreciate you checking in" softens the statement further, expressing gratitude for the concern and support offered. And the final sentiment, "it means the world to me that you're here," reinforces the value of the relationship, reaffirming the bond even in the midst of emotional turmoil. This subtle shift in language, this nuanced expression of need, transforms a potentially damaging interaction into a moment of connection, demonstrating the profound power of words to shape our relationships and navigate the complexities of human experience. As we conclude, remember that the words we choose have the power to shape our reality and our relationships. By replacing these 7 phrases with more open and inviting alternatives, we can create a space for deeper connection, greater understanding, and a more fulfilling life, no matter our age. Thank you for joining us today. We encourage you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. What resonated with you? What changes will you make in your own communication? Your insights are invaluable to us and to our community. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit from these simple yet powerful shifts. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on our latest tips for thriving in life after 60, all for free. Your support by liking, commenting, and subscribing helps us to continue creating content that empowers you to live your best life in this exciting chapter. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.